Welcome back to another episode of Iron Turns Engineering, and today we're going to be working a bit more on these, the little Yamaha Bop 2s. So, last time you saw it, we completely gutted the yellow Yamaha Bop 2 that's in there. And today I thought I'd show you exactly what I kind of want to get out of this, because I was just intending to restore it, but this time I'm actually going to make it into a bit more of a zoomer style bike. So to get that, we obviously need to modify the front forks, modify the engine cradle and stuff like that, just to be able to get it to sit as low and as long as possible. So we're going to start work on the red one to show you what I want to do. So basically I want this whole cradle, which actually would probably be easier to show you on this one here. So this is obviously what's left of the yellow one. So the entire engine assembly, wheel, everything is all here. So that can just be moved quite easily. And then the things that connect up to it just need to be connected up to it quite easily, just extended and stuff. Now, this is the original frame. So how it used to sit is like this. So you had the engine just underneath the frame, and then the rear hub, the wheel, all that kind of stuff, held on by that one shock just over there, right? Doesn't look too bad. This is the mount for the engine. So what we're intending to do is move this whole engine assembly back and up. And that'll in turn obviously move this entire area back and up. And then we adjust the forks, drop it down through the headstock, according with how much we do it at the back. So it's easier to show you with this yellow one, if it doesn't shred my hands to ribbons doing it with one hand. But it used to sit like that. That is how the frame sits on the engine. Now what I'm proposing is this. So something along the lines of that. So all the tank and everything is going to be around here, and everything will be a lot lower. So what I need to do is make an engine mount, what goes from here to the mounting point here. So we're going to do that at some point, but what we're going to do first is drop the front of this bop, or potentially take the whole headstock out, and we're going to see how low it will go on these stock forks. And then depending on how low it goes on the stock forks, depends on how low we can then get the rear engine compartment. So let's start playing around with this red one so we can modify the yellow one. Right, so what I have just found out with this with headstock and stuff is that the forks won't slide through the yolks. So basically this is the old fork, as you can see, very not good. So it's got this turned end, or this turned top. Now this is the top yoke, also not in the best condition, but that sits on the top of that turned down piece. So that just sits inside the yoke like that. The rest of the fork won't pass through this hole in the yoke. So what we're going to have to do is get the yoke off the red one, and we're going to have to open up these top holes so that the actual fork goes through it, comes through it, and then we can obviously do pinch bolt there, and then obviously make something spacer wise or whatever to lock that in place when we get the desired height. So let's start gutting the front end of the red one so that we can start modifying that. Right, so we've got the red one's top yoke off. As you can see, much better nick than the yellow one's top yoke. But I don't know, we're definitely going to use the red one anyway. But yeah, so essentially we need to open up these holes here so that the fork actually goes all the way through, so that you can then move that down and lower the front of the bike. So we're just going to try a little experiment here. So I'm going to take that to work and sort that out, because my machines are still not home, so I can't do it here. I've got to do it at home. I've got to do it at work. Might as well call it home. I live there often enough. What we're now going to do, we're going to undo these pinch bolts here, and we're going to drop this down as far as we can go, or as far as we can see us comfortable, if you know what I'm saying. So we're going to undo these, drop it down, and see what we can get away with lowering wise. Oh, so it looks like we can drop it quite a bit. So this is where the original bottom yoke sat, just here where this mark was, and then it's now dropped down, I don't know, a good 2.5 inches. Realistically, we could go all the way to this rubber here. It'd make the shot completely useless, but it doesn't really matter. It's just going to be putted about. I'm not exactly going to get on the single carriageway with it, but there's plenty of gap here. The mudguard to this plastic piece here isn't that much, as you can see there, but this plastic piece will be gone, so potentially there will be a bit more room there anyway. So at least we know we can get quite nice and low on the front. So we can't exactly see, you know, how it's going to look and where to put this engine on the back at the minute, but what we're going to do is we're going to take this whole front assembly off, and we're going to put it on the frame of the yellow one. Just because the frame of the yellow one is completely gutted, and I won't have to remove the engine and everything else on this one, if you know what I'm saying. So what I'll do is I'll take this whole front end off, put it on the yellow one, and then I can put the yellow frame in line with where this engine would be, and then get an idea of where the new mounts are going to be. So let's get this front end off here. Alright, so we ended up taking that headstock apart just purely because one of them forks was under pressure, because the actual bit of the fork that goes through the bottom yoke was a bit dirty, so it just grabbed it and just pulled it down with it. Like, doesn't affect nothing, it's just I wanted to get it all sorted. So we've now got the headstock out and the bottom yoke. So what we'll do is we'll put it in the yellow frame without bearings for now, but we'll just get it in the yellow frame, get the forks in there set up, get the front wheel set up, and then we can take that frame and put it on top of this engine just to see how much of a mount we need to make. Right, so to clean the front forks up just a little bit more, because the chrome isn't in the best nick, so I just had to clean that up so it actually slid through the bottom yoke a bit better, which it now does. So let's take these and the top yoke to work, and we'll drill them out, and then we can start playing around with the frame. Alright, so we're at work, measured up the fork. It's measuring out to be about 25.4. So what we're going to do, the hole on the yoke actually measures, I think, about 23, so we're going to now open the top of the yoke out to 25.4. So let's get it all set up and get that done. Okay, so open the holes out, 25.4. Let's see how well they fit on the fork. Oh, beautiful. Let's look at this one. Come on. Yes. Yep. Beautiful. Beautiful. So now we can test them on the front of the bike and work out how low we're going to go. So this is what we're looking at for the Bot 2 Zoomer style. So forks are through as far as I want them to go, so we've got about an inch of travel on the bottom there, and then obviously we've got the back leveled out as well as the front, and this is how it will sit. Obviously imagine it lower because it's currently on blocks of wood. So what we now need to do is make mounts for the engine. Now normally the engine sat here, so you had this cradle basically, bottom bolt hole here goes through onto the engine, top one there goes through the frame, and then that big one there sits there with a big spring, so it kind of sits in there like that. So what we're going to do is reattach it to the engine, and then we're going to drill new holes through here and then strengthen them like this, put a piece of tube through and weld it all up, strengthen it through these, and then extend this piece to come further out here. Maybe not this entire way, but certainly to somewhere, just so it bolts on, even if we just do it however far and then weld a tab across there. So let's get to adapting that. Right, so this is what we worked out so far. We were going to run the engine mount, or this engine mount, we're going to secure it to the engine and then make some mounting bolts here, and then obviously run this brace from here back to here. But upon looking at it now, this mount will not allow me to have the low that I want. And also as well, if that's here, mounting here, it interferes with the tank, because the tank dips into here and then secures here and secures here. So that's a no-go. I want the tank placement exactly where it was, the seat placement where it was. I just basically wanted to move this cradle back, so that's a no-no. So what it looks like I'm going to be doing is taking this engine cradle and putting it in this original location. So we're going to have the bolts through here, one on each side, one here with a spring, and then what I'll do is I'll chop all of the one off the bottom, including this piece, and I'll run a brace from here to a new tube, new mount that I'll basically be making on this engine here. So basically it'll be exactly the same location, just move back to there. Looks like it's going to fit a lot better than how I was thinking before, and it's going to be a lot less work, so we're going to do that. The next thing we need to figure out though is what we're going to do about the shock, because the shock used to mount here and then obviously to the wheel, but that would be in this configuration. Now we're doing it this way. I'm not entirely sure if I'm going to be able to get a shock that will fit, so I might have to just solid bar suspension it, but to be fair, we're not driving it on the road, we're going to be putting around on it, so it's not the end of the world. So let's get about chopping this one about and making all the new mount for this. Right, so we know what we're doing with the engine mount now, and it's pretty much this. So, crude drawing, but here we go. So we want an engine mount which is 20 centimeters long. It was either going to be flat or bar. It depends on what we've got at work. I know we've got flat, 10mm thick flat, so we can do it out of that. It would be nicer to do it out of round though, so I'm going to see what we've got tonight. But basically what we want is to come along here 14 centimeters and then dip down just past the head and then over to the actual engine mount, what connects to the frame. That's just what we're trying to do here. If we do it with flat, unfortunately it's going to obstruct the spark plug. So changing the spark plug will be a bit of a prick. But if we can find the round to do it, we can do one on either side so we won't obstruct the spark plug. So let's go to work, see what we've got, because we also want to bend the flat and stuff. We don't have the acetylene bottles or anything like that here, because none of that stuff is here yet. Why would any of that stuff be here yet? The big workshop's not done yet, so all my machines, all my big stuff like that is not here yet. But we have the luxury of doing it at work, so let's go do it at work. So, bent these up yesterday at work. Stupidly, I forgot my camera, so I didn't film bending them up. But we just tried them out on the bike. So what we're going to do now is chop them down to the size and get them all tack welded in.
A few moments later.
So I'm sat here pondering, and I don't think we're going to Zoomer this. There's a couple of reasons for that. Number one is the frame. So if you look at the standard one, you can see how high up the frame actually is compared to the engine. And now I've obviously moved the engine and stretched it back. But even still, when it drops down to the floor, which is only going to be off that and probably about a 1/4 inch piece of wood, the frame is still ridiculously high. And nothing's going to go underneath that. Maybe some foot pegs, but nothing else is going to go underneath that. So it's going to look strange because it's going to technically be about that high as a Zoomer. There's not really much I can do about that other than, like, you know, putting a smaller wheel on it, new forks, and it's going well too deep into what I really wanted to do, which was just have a nice little putt around scooter. So the other thing I was thinking of was just put it back to how it was. I really liked how it looked in its standard form. It just wasn't low enough. So I think what we're going to do is keep the forks as they are, but on the standard rear suspension, the engine is on a pivot, so it pivots up like this on the mount. So the mount bolts there and it bolts here, and then on that bolt there, it pivots. So what we're going to do, I think, is take this shock out and work out when we get the forks in how low the front end is, and then we're going to make a solid bar to go in here, which will lower the back by the same as the front. I think that's the way we're going to do it, because other than that, it's going to look quite weird, because the frame was initially designed obviously to sit underneath or sit over the top of the engine. And yeah, and the fact that I thought it was cool to start with makes me think that that is the right pathway. So let's get that headstock back in this one, and then we can work out how long the rear bar needs to be, and we can see if we can get it lowered on the standard frame. So yeah, I think we're going to end the video there, guys, because if not, this video is going to be long. So we're going to end it there. A little bit disappointing with the outcome, but at the end of the day, this is what it's all about. You know, you kind of try something and then you think, maybe not. So yeah, it's just, we got as far as we wanted to go, and then at least we made this realization now, not like, you know, when we're completely in the depths of it and then we realize, hang on, it's not as low as I want, it's not going to look great. So never mind, we'll do everything else on the next one, and we'll see how well things go then. So yeah, cheers for watching this one, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe and all that kind of stuff. It really does help the channel out. I'm going to keep doing this stuff whether you guys like it or not, so I'd prefer it if you like it, but never mind. But yeah, anyway, cheers for watching, guys. See you on the next one.